What is good? What's good? What's good, everybody? Back again with another planned but slightly impromptu stream. Just hanging out, talking about you guys' favorite subject as always. What's up to everybody in chat? Sorry if this isn't as organized as I would like it to be. I honestly didn't even get off work until like 2 this morning, so I didn't want to push the stream back a second time, so I decided to go ahead and just do what we can with it, and here we are. What's good, Jason? Disney Mini Cardi, how you doing? Appreciate you still being around. Mandalorian, what's up? Kingdom Gaming, Arkham 927, what's up? The Space Con, what's good? Like I said, guys, just a quick stream, just hanging out, talking about the possibility of seeing not this game specifically, but a game possibly centered around the Avengers in the future. Um, and just giving my thoughts on our chances of seeing something like that, or when we could see something like that again. Honestly, I believe in the event that we do see something like this again, it'll be pretty different from what we just got from Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix. But I feel like there's a lot that can be learned from what they did with this project, and both good and bad. And there are a lot of things that fans of the game were, you know, very excited to have and enjoyed, and there are a lot of things that let us down ultimately in the end. And I feel like there's just a lot to be gained from actually following the bouncing ball of Marvel's Avengers if you want to pick up this project again with a different studio, different production company backing it, things like, publishing company, not production company. I'm thinking movies. But yeah, just if another team wanted to get behind this and take a shot at the eight ball, I think you honestly could still salvage a lot of goodwill with this property. And especially now with the MCU kind of being underwhelming for a lot of people in a lot of regards, I feel like Marvel Gaming has an opportunity to do something that we've never seen before in gaming. And I feel like this would be a great opportunity to kind of get in on the ground level on something like that. And they have all the assets to do something like that. But it would be a major undertaking. What I'm talking about specifically, I'll have to flesh out more in a detailed video breakdown of what I'm proposing honestly. But just a game centered around the Avengers alone, it could have performed a lot better than it did, and we could talk about why it didn't perform as well or underperform. But for the most part, I just have mixed views on what they were able to do, because I do view certain things as a success given the nature of the things behind the scenes for the game and the studio. But at the same time, they obviously massively failed in terms of general public appeal and all of that. But Fetty, what's up? Appreciate you coming through. Gil, Brandon, Bulls for life. Hey, you see it. But yeah, we can jump into today's topic. So as you saw, when people saw this image, we got hyped. They went through a lot of revisions before they even got to the final designs of the characters, because famously, once they showed off what they had in mind with their first sneak trailer and everything, people were just not having it with those designs, those character designs. Like Black Widow got trashed and all of that. But they showed that they were willing to make changes and all of that. It's unfortunate that you can if you watch the game, like, you can tell where the vision starts and where it pretty much ended. And as I always say, I feel like they thought a little too small with this game specifically. But at the same time, it's like, it is a pretty big game, all things considered, especially when you start looking into how much data it takes up, how much space it takes up on the PS5 and the PS4 and all of that. But I don't know. Like I said, it's easy to be behind the camera or uninvolved with the project and talk about what they should have did or what they could have did better and things like that. But it was just a ton of hype around this game, and I feel like having they needed a better finger on the pulse in terms of what fans actually wanted from a project like this. And I feel like that's something that a new studio taking over a project like this would be able to would benefit from. Just having someone really at the ground level who understands what fans are looking for from a game where you get to play with these heroes. Because you got a game like Spider-Man from Insomniac, and you got the new Iron Man game on the way. You got a Black Panther game on the way, and those single player, single focused games do a great job of storytelling and delivering a player experience, centered around one hero that, players really seem to enjoy. But we know these people are part of a bigger shared universe, and it always sucks not being able to, have access to those other characters. And this game tried to give you that access while also limiting access to a large part of the Marvel community as well. And that, like I said, that kind of stuff was ultimately disappointing. But you can't deny, like, when people saw these trailers dropping, they were super excited. The pre-order sales and everything were great. And then once you actually got hands on the actual final product, is like a lot of people were underwhelmed. A lot of people had a lot to be desired, and then it's like the bugs and all of that stuff that just consistently plagued the game even to this day. It was just dead on arrival essentially for a lot of people. Like, a lot of people put this game down like it was hot. But this was the vision, like a story, based game centered around the Avengers that lets you get in the shoes of each Avenger individually. That was all a part of the major marketing push. So showing that you'll be able to wield the power of Thor, running around as the Hulk, fly as Iron Man, I almost called him Superman, Captain America, getting in, this game was ahead of its time in a lot of regards. Like, they did something not a lot of companies are willing to try and tackle. And in the long run, that might have shot them in the foot a bit. But this game ultimately just was a constant battle of conflicting ideas. So single player story experience versus multiplayer experience that allows all the Avengers, or at least four of them, to team up with people all across the world and have battles and roam around and stuff like that. And that's the part of the game that ultimately underwhelmed the most. And the question is, if you're a new studio, do you try something like that again? Like, do you shy away from the multiplayer aspect, or do you embrace it and learn from the mistakes of what Crystal Dynamics ultimately wasn't able to deliver on? Because looking at what they actually did with the game, now that it's totally complete and all the way done, you can see clearly that the multiplayer aspect was the least fleshed out aspect of the game, ranging from gear to enemy design to environments. All of that stuff was just the least compelling part of this game in general, where the single player stuff is still shines to this day. Like, you can jump in and play the campaigns and have a ton of fun to this day, and that'll be the stuff that people will remember more fondly than what we have here. But again, I feel like there's still a lot of potential there. There's still a ton of potential. So delivering that story mode experience for multiplayer, that's your selling point. Like, that's what you need to be able to deliver on. But get into my next point, I feel like they have an opportunity with so many good games and so many great characters of being a part of their universe to kind of bring that stuff together. And it's like, you see it in small elements. So you'll see Yuri Lowenthal's Spider-Man, voiced, and kind of carrying over to Marvel's Ultimate Alliance and things like that. But when the second they announced that Spider-Man would be in the Avengers, the obvious idea should have been, hey, let's bring Insomniac's Spider-Man, which should be the definitive Spider-Man on, for gaming, and place him in this universe with these Avengers, and let's pull, so you got the Guardians of the Galaxy, in their own game. It's like, let's connect these universes, in a bigger game, either in this game or in the future game. But it's like, this should be the idea going forward. And like I said, I understand that's a massive undertaking, and that's a lot more planning than simply, hey, we wanted to just do it. I understand that. I'm not, proposing it would be simple by any means necessary. What's up, Craig, and what's up to everybody in chat who just popped in. Like I said, guys, we're just hanging out a bit before I have to shoot off to work. But if you haven't already, like I said, make sure to drop a like. That definitely helps support the stream. And as I told you guys, as always, I'm always happy to hang out, have these conversations and stuff. I'm slowly getting back into the process of creating videos in my free time, which is becoming more limited. But I'm committed to figuring it out and working my way around that. But as you like, the MCU had a major 10-year run where you just had this constant ramp up with more and more superheroes being introduced, more stories being connected, more characters being connected to a bigger overall universe that ultimately climaxed with Infinity War and Endgame, and now they're trying to build up another phase behind that, and they haven't been doing that great of a job objectively. But I feel like gaming, the storytelling, and just the possibilities that gaming offers, for a universe that's connected of all the Marvel heroes is insane. And again, you can still have your single player games like the Iron Man game and Spider-Man and just bring those characters over into a bigger project. So if you want to do another Marvel hero style game, those certain heroes are, so you'll have Insomniac's, Spider-Man be that game's version of Spider-Man. You can have, Monolith's version of Iron Man be the Iron Man in that game, and so on and so forth. And, you can still do smaller niche games like Midnight Suns, where you can, you don't have to have the same Spider-Man in every game. That's not what I'm proposing, but there should be like a definitive, like, okay, well, this big project is connected to Insomniac Spider-Man, Monolith's Iron Man, and so on and so forth. And you can still have those independent games, be their own thing and still have access to those characters. But like it just felt like not like lip service. That's what it felt like when you hear the developers for Marvel's Avengers say, "Oh yeah, we're pulling from Marvel's entire universe, and we got all these years of history we're pulling from." And then you roll out somebody like Kate Bishop or Jane Foster or Bucky, and it's like, those are fine. You made those fun characters to play with, but honestly, fans would have been more excited to play with Ant-Man or Doctor Strange or any other characters that were being teased and set up as being alive and a part of that universe. And that thinking is what I feel like the next Avengers game, and I don't think it will be probably centered around the Avengers. It'll be something, collaborative like Ultimate Alliance or Marvel Heroes Omega or something like that, where it's a big universe and the gameplay. I know fans want the gameplay to be similar to what we got in Avengers, but I don't know. Like I said, that's a major undertaking to have multiple heroes fighting uniquely amongst themselves. And how far do you go before you get into the clone aspect? So, this person is just a clone of this character or a reskin and stuff like that, because it just makes sense to do stuff like that from a budget perspective. But it, as a fan, you don't want your favorite heroes to just be a copy. But all right, Tina, catch you later. Thank you for coming through. But yeah, it's like you honestly, I hope you guys are taking lip service. I would hope you guys are familiar with the term lip service. That's that's another way for saying you're just talking. But yeah, it's 2023 and it's the internet, so that's on me for using that one. But it's like you have all of these amazing characters. Like you got the X-Men, you got Daredevil, you got the Fantastic Four, and then to limit it to just a handful of Avengers, and then from there you're going with not even fan favorite Avengers, and it's like it just got more and more disappointed as things rolled on. So you definitely don't want to repeat something like that. So it's like that's something you definitely want to have your finger on the pulse for. What's up, Rook? And what's up, everybody just popping in again? Thank you guys for coming through to hang out. Like I said, it's just a conversation, But yeah, there have been games who have tried and had relative success with opening up the Marvel universe and throwing as many heroes as they can at the screen. So the Ultimate Alliance games are pretty famous for doing that at this point. And you have the X-Men, you have the Guardians, you have Spider-Man, you have multiple Spider-Man in this one, and you got Venom, you got Thanos and the Black Order on the screen, you got Doctor Doom, you got Fantastic Four. So it's like the Ultimate Alliance games are like the gold standard to a degree. I would say those games and Marvel Heroes Omega, where you're really just giving people full access to it. What's up, Sadat? Yes, this game is definitely dead, and we're talking about a possible revival in better hands, I guess. Like I said, this game itself, the version of Marvel Heroes that you guys, have become familiar with is like that's done. Like licensing and all of that stuff killed that game the second the studio decided to discontinue development. But you could see the Avengers pop up in another AAA game. Would it be solely focused on them? I don't know. Who's to say at this point? But you honestly want to expand, not restrict. So you don't want to be limited to just certain Avengers. And it's like they denied it, but it's like obviously you were trying to stick to the aesthetic of the MCU with the heroes you selected at the core, and then Kamala would be the vehicle for new players or new just for players to get familiar with this universe. So she would be our surrogate for that, or our avatar, I guess. But yeah, it's like you want more, players, fans, they want more from the game and universe. So it's like swinging around the Spider-Man game and Insomniac, and you just see the Avengers Tower, and you see Nelson and Murdoch, and you see all these references to all these other heroes in this bigger universe, and you're never going to see any of them. Like you can't even see them walking around. You don't have a dialogue with them or anything like that, and it's like it's a cool nod, but it's like that nod doesn't really scratch that itch. And then you have a game where you can introduce characters like that, and you don't. You go for I don't understand the logic behind a lot of the choices they made for characters in that game, but so I don't disagree that a lot of those characters were disappointing. All right, Josh got gaming. Appreciate you coming through. I'll catch you in the next one, bro. But yeah, it's like this game left so much on the table, and I get it. After talking to some of the developers, like I said, this game was just kind of floating dead in the water for a while, and they didn't know what to do, didn't have a clear vision of what they wanted to do, and honestly, a lot of the team was just kind of tired of being there, and it's like I get it, but like I said, as a fan of the game and this universe, that sucks, and it's like it's not that hard, you really have to make assertive decisions that make sense. And it's like this is what people have in mind. This is the ultimate vision for these heroes in a gaming space. Like just being able to run around with your friends and team up with whoever. So hey, I'm a major Iron Fist fan, or I love Luke Cage, I love the Punisher, and I can have him be in the same game as Captain America or the Hulk or all these other people. You got Ant-Man in the background. And it's like this game, they cut fans off at the legs with this by just, completely taking it away. And, word on the grapevine now is you may be having a chance to get this back in some fashion with a fan game, or fans are bringing it back or something like that. I haven't really looked into it. But, hopefully that gets off the ground, and hopefully, Marvel Disney doesn't come shoot it down, because honestly, at the very least, you should still give people the option to play the game, especially as much money as they poured into that game, which, thankfully Avengers did understand that at the very least. They, left with some goodwill because, hey, here's all the skins, here's everything we have for the most part. They still kind of fumbled that a little bit by making certain outfits for like the Winter Soldier and other characters locked. And that's up. I haven't played much, but it's like every time I've checked into the game, there's I've had to kind of play with the dates and move things around a bit to get access to some of those outfits. And it's like you shouldn't have to just give it all up, bro. Just the game is over. Just give everything. Stop with the the trials and all of that stuff. Is like just leave that stuff alone, man. Just get up out of here. What's up, Kino? But yeah, it's like this is Division. Like this this universe with complex AAA gaming, and combat is like that's the ultimate vision. But like I said, other games are taking full opportunity with the Marvel universe. So you have a wide range of characters available in this game, and they all play differently from each other. They are all fun to play in their own right. I know it's a niche game, so it's not everybody's taste, but you can put a team together of Doctor Strange, Wolverine, and Spider-Man, or Iron Man, or Captain Marvel, who is dope in this game, and that's the Marvel universe. And with Avengers, it's like we're only gonna play with these toys, but we'll tell you, hey, we're looking at everything, and it's like you're not. You didn't really look at everything. Time tells the truth, and the fact that they didn't plan for multiplayer aspects like, oh, we have MODOK as the main boss of this game, but we didn't set it up for him to actually fight in a multiplayer scenario because we just didn't think of that. It's like that's crazy. So it's like you definitely don't want to do certain things that this game did wrong, and this is probably their biggest fumble. Like all the gassing up, all the hype they built around this character. You literally brought Nick Fury back when it made no sense narratively, but it's like you brought him back just to further tease that the Kree is coming, and this it's like, come on, bro, you didn't even get there, and you knew that was your last year in this game, and you did no work. You had no path to this character at all. Like there was nothing in the cards for her to even actually materialize in that game. And it's like you don't want to do that to your fans. You don't want to build up hype you can't pay off. So if you have no game plan for delivering certain content or certain characters, don't tease that. Don't even mention it. Leave it alone. You get what I'm saying? Unless you're doing it like Insomniac, where it's quite clear these people aren't going to show up, and this is just a fun tip of the hat. But it's like they heavily teased, the Kree and more and more and more, and it's like you had no plans of delivering that. Beyond Spider-Man, this game had no vision. So you had Hawkeye who was playing, you had Black Panther and Kate Bishop who were playing, and a tacked on Spider-Man with no real content coming with him, and that was the vision. That was everything they had planned beyond the initial game, and it showed. By the time you got to 2022, it was very clear they had no real vision for what this game was going to be. Oh, we're taking away the roadmap, and you're not getting trailers for anything. And oh, here's a cobbled together Jane Foster, and behind that, cobbled together mission with Monica again. And oh, here's a cobbled together Winter Soldier, and a cobbled together MODOK fight, and a cobbled together cloning labs that we finally found a way to deliver. And that's the game. Like that's literally all we have for you. That's all we got left. And it's like that was a gut punch for so many people. And it's like I love the Winter Soldier. I appreciate what they were able to do, especially understanding what their resources were looking like behind the scenes. Like they really worked hard to deliver this character and make him still fun to play as and make him a good addition to the game. But honestly, it's like if this is your last hurrah with the game, bro, just go all in. You should have just went all in. Put all your cards on the Captain Marvel and whatever you can do for the Kree, because it's like the Colonial Lab stuff. It was a joke at that point anyway. So it's like you really didn't have to do that. So I don't know. It was just weird. But it's like, yeah, you teased, Ant-Man. It was underwhelming not to be able to get him in the game, and like I said, it was just disappointment. By the end of the game, it was just a lot of disappointment, a lot of like, oh man. And like I said, as you got more and more involved in the game and understood what was going on and what wasn't going on, it's like you understood, like you could see the writing on the wall, and you definitely don't want to do this. Like like I said, everything I've heard, tends to lean towards this was actually something that was pitched, and that's crazy. Like that blew my mind when Miller confirmed that this was real. Like this just completely blew me away. And it's like by the time they started thinking about, oh yeah, we actually need to add bigger characters and more fun characters, the ship had sailed. Like the money ship had gone away. Like there was no way of getting investors to put money into this project, especially in a game that doesn't make any financial sense. Like you're giving all of this away, so we're giving you money to make this, and then you're just giving it all the way to fans and hope that they buy skins. And it's like that's terrible marketing. And it's like this is one of the biggest lessons. Having a clear roadmap for, like, if you're going to make this a live service game, which again, that's another aspect of this game that I'm not sure a new studio would want to tackle, because that is becoming like a bad word in gaming. Like you say live service attached to your game, you're pissing off over half the fan base just with that alone. And it's like battle pass, like those are buzzwords for don't play our game essentially, or hate our game. 2K is catching some of that right now with their latest 2K NBA 2K, and it's there's ways of doing that stuff right, and right now I don't think many studios have a grasp on how to do that right. So I feel like it would honestly be best to step away from the live service stuff and just either follow a path similar to like Insomniac Spider-Man, where you have intentional DLC content that's ready to roll out. Midnight Suns is another good example, where they had extra characters ready to go post launch, and they have all of this content that's surrounding those characters ready to go post launch, but it's not a live service game. It's not like, oh, we're going to be around for years or until you guys stop playing or anything. No, we know what we're going to do. We know what we want to deliver, and we already have this plan. So the lineup was already set in stone. Venom, Deadpool, Morbius, Storm. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. I haven't played all those characters, but they had that character lineup set in stone, already being developed, already greenlit, already ready to go. And that's what you should have had. And Avengers had that for a little while, up until about Spider-Man. And then it's like, all right, now we're just, flapping our pants in the wind because we don't know where we're going. We didn't expect to still have to go beyond this. And it's like, that's just crazy. What's up, Agent Dad? How you doing, bro? Appreciate you popping in. And guys, again, make sure to drop a like if you can. That definitely helps out the channel. But yeah, it's like, vision. You have to have vision with a project like that. Dragon Ball Kakarot, it's like that game is still around and kicking. Dragon Ball Xenoverse is still around kicking. And like, these aren't live service games, but they are continuing to offer content that you can purchase that expands the game, that gives you more to do, more to play, and more of what you already enjoy. And it's like, just follow that model. Like you did. That's all you have to do, because when you say live service, that sets an expectation that you have to be ready to meet. And now you're seeing, like, even a game like Destiny is like, it's always about what are you going to do next, because it's a live service game. And then when you do smaller things to kind of, satiate people in between, it's like, that's going to be judged critically. So it's like, what is this? This isn't enough. Where's the next big thing? Because the last big thing is over and it's boring. What's next? What's next? What's next? And it's like, you don't want to be under a gun like that. So, hey, we will have DLC, but that's it. So, like, even Gotham Knights, like, we had DLC ready to go, post-launch. It's underwhelming DLC for me. I'm not really invested in that DLC, but it's free. So it's like, hey, I have no expectations for you. You get what I'm saying? Like, I would have appreciated a Batman DLC or something, but I understand that wasn't the focus of the game, or even something that deals more into the player being a detective. So a new crime is happening, and you have to solve this case to find your way to the main villain or something like that. That's the kind of DLC I would be interested in. But still, they at least knew they knew they would have DLC. They knew it would be free, and it was already planned and worked on. And it's like that's the logic you have to have with stuff like this. The Fantastic Four. Shout out to Charles Logan, for this concept art. But it's like, they're on the rise. Their name is starting to buzz again. So it's like you definitely want to see characters from the Marvel universe in other games, and give players the opportunity to play with them if possible. And it's just, like I said, it's unfortunate that things played out the way that it did with Avengers. But like I said, I feel like there's still a ton of opportunity there. There's still a ton of opportunity and a ton of interest there if done right. So no, you wouldn't be able to reintroduce Avengers game under Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix or the Embracer Group or anything like that, and not get a ton of backlash and criticism immediately, because you kind of killed off any goodwill that you had. But another studio, so like Insomniac, we have an unannounced multiplayer game that's being developed by that studio. That could be a superhero game. That could be something wacky and a different IP completely or something like that. But I feel like the odds of it being a superhero game are pretty strong. I wouldn't go full blown, hey, this is going to be an Avengers game. But giving Insomniac something like the Fantastic Four or something like that, or X-Men game, I don't feel like that would be a stretch. And again, that just sets up, like, Insomniac could have its own universe within itself, because you have the Wolverine game coming, you have Spider-Man, you have Miles Morales, you have New York, you have all of this stuff and who knows what the Wolverine game is going to set up. So it's like, if your multiplayer game is an X-Men game, you can just roll that version of Wolverine right over into that, and it's all connected. And it's like, that's the kind of stuff fans want to see. What's up, Christopher Rogers? Glad you can make it, man. Hope everything's been going good with you. But yeah, like, and that's not to say that people wouldn't, like, if they keep in mind, this is not going to happen. This is purely just hyperbole and speculate. Not even speculation. This is hypothetical. Hypothetically, if Crystal Dynamics were to be like, hey, on our way out, we are going to give you the Captain Marvel DLC with the Kree and stuff like that, people would still be excited for that. People would take that because it's going to be free. But most people outside of the core fans of this game are going to dump on that game and criticize it or dump on that DLC, because that's what they do. That's what you do with this game at this point. That's more exciting than actually playing the game or being excited for the game or appreciating whatever they were able to do. Captain, what's good, bro? Appreciate you coming through. And again, guys, slap a like. That helps. We got to get back into the rotation, I guess, somehow. But yeah, it's like the Avengers IP itself, is still bankable. You honestly just have to understand what fans are looking for, understand what you want to deliver as a studio, understand what you're trying to do as a team, what you can do, what you can't do, and if this is something you're planning to have around for a couple years to come, you better have the vision for it. You better have the planning to solidify all of that, because you cannot have the stuff that was going on with Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix's Avengers game, because you can start to see where the money was running out. You can start to see where the polish just wasn't there, and that coupled with this culture of developers versus players and stuff like that that's developing as of late, it's like you honestly don't want to see stuff like that. And at this point, I don't think there's a game you can introduce that's not going to garner some kind of hate. So like, the hate that I'm seeing for Spider-Man 2 and the criticisms for that is like, that's the internet at this point. Like, any opportunity to be negative, people are going to jump on that and take full advantage. But If you're delivering something genuinely good, people are going to show up for it. People are going to be excited for it. And if you understand the market, people are willing to pay for it. So whatever DLC they have planned for Spider-Man 2, I'm pretty sure you're going to have to pay for it. And that makes sense because they still have to develop that stuff. They still have to work for that stuff. And that's what gives you the opportunity to do more in the future. That's what funds future games and future DLC. And the idea that Crystal Dynamics was going to make all of this stuff for free was redundant. It's like I can't believe that made it past the idea phase. Like, hey, well, what if we do everything for free? It sounds like everybody behind the scenes jumped on that idea. Like, yeah, that'll get them on our side. And by the time you thought about, well, how do we keep paying for this stuff if we're not charging any money? You're like 3 DLC characters in. It's like that made no sense. Like that's, like I said, it's one of the it was one of the most baffling games ever. But like I said, life has gone on. You got so many other games on the horizon, and ultimately, I just hope that whatever game comes next for the Avengers, it manages to take advantage of this. The Marvel universe in general, like actually give us access to these characters in a AAA setting where you get to do a little more than basic combos and copycat characters and clones and stuff like that. Like really, collaborate. The studios are collaborating to get these projects out the door all the time. So it's like you had multiple studios working on Avengers to get that to launch. And again, as buggy as that was when it launched, it took a lot of work to get there. It took a lot of work to take this game from a single player only game to a multiplayer game with, networking issues and all of that other stuff. And it's like they figured it out to the best of their ability. And the fact that you could do something like that mid development is like hats off to you. But still, it's like it's just that's a misguided decision. It's like you can't do stuff like that. And then you had to pay a ton of money to get your engine to be able to run like that. But like I said, this has to be the goal. Like this, like I said, I'm sure we'll see the Avengers and other stuff. So as we just recently saw, they popped up in Midnight Suns, and I'm sure they'll be popping up in niche games and smaller games here and there. But a big front and center Avengers game, who knows? Like I said, Insomniac, they have something up their sleeves. We don't know what exactly that is just yet. Insomniac announcing an Avengers game would be a massive W, but like I said, coming off so closely to the death of this Avengers game, I just don't know if timing wise they would think that makes sense. But honestly, who knows? They definitely have the storytelling aspect. They're going to go for it with storytelling and telling a compelling story. And that's not to say that the Avengers story was bad. The Avengers story was not bad. What's up, Big Boss? How you doing, bro? Appreciate you coming through. But yeah, it's like if that was all that game had to offer, if it was simply a story driven single player experience, that game would have won awards. It would have been greatly received because the bugs and all of that stuff wasn't in the single player stuff. It was only mostly in the multiplayer stuff. I encountered no real bugs in any of my single player playthroughs. But once I started playing with people online and going into hives and stuff like that, is like that's when you're falling through the floors and all this other crazy stuff is happening because the game was really struggling to make that stuff happen because it wasn't originally designed to do that. And then it's like, all right, well, people are hooked into the future. All right, well, we're gonna get more characters. That's always going to be a hook. And then it's like your first character you roll out is Kate Bishop, and it's like she's fun to play. You delivered a really good character with that, but it's like thematically that should have just been Hawkeye. Like to do Kate Bishop and then Hawkeye is like, I know what you were trying to do narratively, but it just doesn't. That's a hard sell, And it's like, hey, this stuff is free, so who cares, I guess. But it's like, hey, you could have did Hawkeye, Black Panther, and then Spider-Man, and you would have had a solid year just off of that alone. And Spider-Man could have actually came with content instead of putting that time towards developing Kate Bishop and her content and all of that stuff. So it's like you could have easily just centered that stuff around Hawkeye solely, and then the War for Wakanda is kind of like a separate campaign that ultimately serves to connect the Black Panther to the Avengers and reunite him with them. And there you go. And then Spider-Man comes in with his own thing and his own content that you can play and enjoy, and that would have served just fine. You would have had a solid first year of DLC in 2021, and you would have got nothing but praise for it. And it's like 2022, after Kate Bishop, after Hawkeye, after Black Panther, and after a underwhelming Spider-Man for most people, with no content, no new bosses or anything like that, it's like, yeah, the writing's kind of on the wall, and now you're taking away roadmaps. Oh, we're not doing story content anymore. We're gonna do janky cutscenes and stuff like that. It's like, I knew it. Like I knew it was coming. Because it just you can't roll like that, bro. You can't do stuff like that and keep a AAA game, going with the lights on. That boy, dude, what's good, bro? Appreciate you coming through. Like I said, just hanging out. For anybody just popping in, we're just talking about what a new Avengers game should be able to do and what lessons they should take away from the previous Avengers game that we most recently had. And again, why that game does a lot right, and it was enjoyable. It did a lot wrong, especially when it came to multiplayer, the gear stuff, and just kind of the attitudes behind the scenes. Like, a lot of the attitude that you would hear behind the scene was just kind of entitled and egotistical, and it's like, bro, it's like, this isn't your personal game. This isn't like we're criticizing your own personal IP you created for yourself. You're playing with something that is a major IP and has a ton of fans around the world, and they have those expectations and that love and passion for that stuff. And it's like, this isn't just your stuff, but it's like, oh, you're stupid and we know best. So like, not all of them, not all the developers, and that's not, I'm not saying that's the sentiment I got from the team in general, but there were people on board behind the scenes who kind of gave that impression, and it's like, you see that reflected in a lot of the decision making. So, who cares if Jane Foster isn't their favorite? It's what we can do, and that's what we'll do for right now, and all of that stuff. And then it's like, talk to some of the people behind the scenes of the game, and they're like, we don't even know where the hell the idea for Jane Foster came from. And it's like, that's crazy. Like, that's crazy. They're just like, hey, we got to do Jane Foster now. We don't even want to do Jane Foster, but hey, we got to do it. So it's like, that's the kind of stuff I factor in, and that's why I'll never be on board with the devs are lazy or devs are stupid. Devs are people who work in jobs. So it's like, they're on the same side as you. They're on the side of having to make this stuff because that's how they make their living. But yes, they agree. They literally agree with a lot of the criticisms people have for that game themselves. And, there wasn't infighting, but, there were people who kind of side-eyed a lot of the decisions that were being made behind the scenes. And it's like, with any, job, or anything like that, it's like, things can get political behind the scenes. So, posturing and stuff like that will get you far. A little butt kissery will get you up the chain, and you might not necessarily be best suited for that position. And now you're in a position to make decisions, and ultimately we learn that you're out of touch. So it's like, it's just a mess. Like, everything I heard about behind the scenes with that game was just such like it gives you a headache just trying to figure out, like, well, how the hell how did you make it this far? It's like, what they managed to roll out was a miracle, because it's like, it was absolutely a disaster behind the scenes, and that's without even getting into the publishing issues and all of that stuff. So it's like, have a clear publisher, have a clear vision, have the publisher understand what it is you're trying to do, have Marvel Games understand what it is you're trying to do, get access to what you need up front. Because it's like, again, once word got out that they were being told no on things like the black Spider-Man suit and stuff like that, is like, dude, like, what is going on? Like, how did you not negotiate all of this when you agreed to do Spider-Man in this game? How did you agree to do Spider-Man and barely got access to any of his skins? So, we have to do our own recolors because we can't do movie skins and we can't pull a lot of comic skins and stuff like that. It's like, what the hell is that? That's crazy, but that was what was going on. It's like, those are easy lessons. I don't know how public that is or how common knowledge that is, for like other studios, but it's like, yeah, you definitely don't want to be doing stuff like that. You definitely don't want that to be, what people are knowing your game for. Like, hey, just how much of a mess it was behind the scenes. Like, no one wants that. You hear about Insomniac, it's nothing but, positive praise for the culture they've created there and the environment and how happy people are to be a part of that team. And you don't hear about, just craziness. It's like, yes, you can criticize some of their decisions they make, with their games in general, but, ultimately it doesn't sound like a miserable place to work or anything like that. It doesn't sound like Marvel Games is making their life miserable over there. And it's like, even mobile games, like, how are mobile games getting access to stuff, but you, with a AAA game and a AAA license, is like, you can't get access to this stuff. What's up, Prezzo? I'm glad to be back. Like I said, I'm a little tired. I didn't get off work until like 2 this morning, and I didn't make it home until almost 3. But, like I said, I popped up this morning, got my resources together just to have a cool, fun conversations with you guys. What's up, Nick? I'm good. Like I said, I really want to get back into, talking to you guys and streaming and stuff consistently, cranking out videos and all of that stuff. The idea that I was talking about with, just having a connected universe in general, I want to flesh that out and really detail that and outline my thoughts on that into a fully fledged video. And, like I said, hopefully it does well. If it doesn't, we'll let YouTube do its thing. But I do feel like there is a ton of potential there. Like, I would love to be able to play with Luke Cage in a free roam, 3D environment, where you can go wherever you want to go. You can do what you want to do. Or, hey, Iron Fist is fighting somebody randomly up the street and I can go get in on that. Or Daredevil is on a rooftop somewhere and I can go help him. Or, hey, there's Spider-Man swinging around while I'm fighting people in the alley and stuff like that. Just a major connected universe full of your favorite Marvel characters. And I feel like no one's fully taking advantage of that as of now. But I feel like, we're getting closer. So maybe that's not something we see, come to fruition on the PS5. Maybe around the time the PS6 is ready to roll out, you'll see something like that. But, who knows? What's up, Preach? How you doing, bro? And what's up, J-Dog? How you guys doing? Appreciate you guys coming through. Like I said, this was not a bad game in terms of story, gameplay, variety, things like that. It's like they really knocked it out of the park with a lot of this stuff, and that's why I try to keep that in focus when discussing this game, in spite of its flaws, in spite of the issues behind the scenes and stuff like that, because I do not believe they made a bad game, or I don't believe they made the mistakes they made intentionally. I just feel like, there was a lot of short-sighted decision making going on, but that's life. That's I work a job where, short-sighted decisions can affect, my week or my day or my month or, all manner of things. And you just kind of got to roll with it. But, with gaming, it's like that stuff can get set in stone. The same as with movies. So it's like, you want to try to get it right, but sometimes you just don't have the right people and the right vision and the right understanding to really deliver on something that people can connect with and, that really sticks the landing. Yeah, they definitely didn't meet expectations. Like, once we get past, some of the bad designs and, initial flaws of the game, like, the story itself delivers. So if this was simply, if the story campaign was all this game had to offer, you would be straight. Like this game would have probably got game of the year or something. Well, I can't remember what came out that year. Probably not game of the year, but it definitely would have got a lot of praise or won an award for story or something like that. What's been the discussion so far? Just talking about what a potential sequel would look like. So far I've only thrown out like Insomniac. I don't feel like Insomniac is the only studio capable of handling a project like Avengers. It's just when people think of quality storytelling game and they're dealing with superheroes, they're obviously at the forefront of that right now. But Monolith has a Iron Man game coming out that we can check out in a couple years. Well, Insomniac has Wolverine rolling out too, and you have other games on the horizon. Midnight Suns was a good game. It just wasn't the style of gameplay that most people are looking for. So if you're coming off the heels of this, Midnight Suns might be a little underwhelming for you. But it's like, I get it. But if you, like I said, if you're open to enjoying other styles of gameplay and stuff like that, Midnight Suns is definitely a hit, and they offer DLC and all of that. But I don't know. I would love to talk to just someone from another studio and get their input on how their views of an Avengers game has been impacted by the failure of this Avengers game. Like, how has that impacted the minds and perception of other studios, other developers? Like, we wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole, or I can see some things we could do differently that I think fans would really be, receptive of or gravitate to. Like, I want to have a conversation with stuff like that, about stuff like that. And I haven't had any time to really put any work into getting my new podcast off the ground, but I'm really going to try to dedicate some time this upcoming weekend to doing it, because I got to get I bought a new desk months ago, and I just got to get that built and set up. I just haven't had the time, but it's like I want to get my desk set up. I want to redecorate it here, and I want to switch things over to a different streaming platform, it's complicated, but honestly, I do want to start having on guests and talking about stuff like that, because I can talk development all day. Like, talking to a developer about the behind the scenes aspects of gaming, that's super interesting to me. That's always been fascinating to me. I was very appreciative of being able to talk to the developers behind the scenes for Avengers, like sitting in on Discord calls with those guys, or just chatting on Twitter and things like that. And it's like, I got so much insight just from those conversations about what was going on, and it's like, so much of it wasn't their fault. It honestly wasn't their fault. They just were kind of left to take the brunt of it, and having to go on those developer live streams with no answers, no real understanding of what's next or what they can do, or what they know what they can and can't say, but they know what you want. They know the kind of stuff we were looking for. And it's like, you can't throw your studio under the bus and be like, yeah, we don't have any of that coming. We'll see, or stay tuned, or anything is possible. The typical generic one line is that they have to throw out, but it's like, when you get a chance to just talk to them, and it's like, there's no pressure on. I'm not trying to pry and get you in trouble or get you to trip up and say something so I can run and make a video or anything like that. I'm just having a conversation with. It's essentially like two guys talking about work. So I'm talking about what I do for a living with them. They talk about what they're doing, and you're just relating to them, and their job is just a lot cooler than mine. They have a really cool job, especially if you're a gamer, and it's like, it's crazy, bro. Like, it's absolutely crazy. Like, learning about what the logic was behind developing the Winter Soldier, and it's like, that was a very small team of people who were working on him, very small team, and they made him dope. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, he's a really fun character to play with. He was a great addition to the game. He's just not big enough to be the last thing you get in a game like that. Like, no, anyone short of Captain Marvel, wouldn't have been enough. Like, people wanted that Captain Marvel DLC with the Kree invasion, and they just weren't going to be able to. that would have been 5 years in the making. Like they would have needed another 5 years just to put something like that together, and it just wasn't going to happen. And like I said, it's unfortunate, but you know, I definitely think a new studio taking control of the reins and having stuff like this in mind would be the goal. So let's look at what the MCU was able to accomplish. Let's see what worked. Let's see what didn't work, and let's see what we have to play with in gaming. So Insomniac Spider-Man, that is our Spider-Man. We need that to be our Spider-Man. So let's get in talks with Insomniac. Let's get in talks with Sony. Let's get in talks with Marvel Games. We need a yes on that because that's going to be big. We want their Wolverine to be our Wolverine. Let's get in touch with Monolith possibly, and hey, let's make that our Iron Man, because it's like I don't know if I don't believe licensing wise these versions of the Avengers we got in this game would be able to carry over into other games. So that's why I'm not listing off any of those guys. I feel like they delivered a perfect version of like Captain America. I really like what they did with the Hulk and Bruce Banner. I love their version of Kamala. I love so many of the characters they were able to deliver on, and they very well could be the definitive versions across gaming for Marvel games. But like I said, I don't know how that would shake out licenses wise. So that's the only reason I'm not shouting them out as a possibility. But like I said, guys, feel free to drop down in the comments and share your thoughts. I'm gonna have to wrap up here. I gotta head out to work in a bit, but it was definitely fun, getting to hang out with you guys and do this again. As it's always fun to just talk about what if and what could be, and I hate that so much of the conversation has to be kind of bogged down by the mess ups and mishaps of Avengers, but it's still a fun game to look back on, and you can still have some fun playing it. What's today? Wednesday, maybe Friday. I'll do a stream with you guys just playing the game, because I still get alerts and messages from some of the groups I was in. There's still a ton of people like either returning to the game or new to the game who are just picking it up for the first time, giving it a try now that it's super cheap, and they're really impressed. They're just lost. They don't really know what's going on, and they don't know how to kind of get through the content. So it's like stuff like that is like I'm still cool with playing it. Like I said, it's still a solid game. I still got it on the system. I just haven't really played it that much. Like it's no real incentives for somebody like me to be playing it. I've leveled up most of my characters, and there's I after doing the raids and cloning lab and stuff like that, I just can't log into that every day and still have fun, honestly. But giving it some space, giving it some time, and going back to it, that's always going to be fun. That's why I'll always keep it on the system, or at least have it on standby to revisit whenever I want to. That's why I say before September, you definitely want to make sure you have a copy of the game, because it's going to be kind of a hot commodity, in the future, because people are going to look back on this game a lot kinder than they did while it was alive and well, which sucks because that's how it goes usually. But like I said, we still can have a bit of fun, and like I said, the conversation is always interesting around it. We'll still have different conversations though. Like I want to get more into Spider-Man 2. There's other games I'm looking forward to, like the Wonder Woman game and Iron Man game and things like that. So it's like I don't want to focus solely on news, because right now there isn't much news for a lot of those games. But this as a gaming universe, I definitely want to have that be a discussion. So you'll definitely see a video or two on that, and possibly a live stream, really, fleshing out my thoughts and ideas about concepts we could see, or, what studios would be a good fit for something like that. But, as always, I definitely appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I feel like I'll go into work with a little more energy today just from hanging out, kicking it with you guys. Look forward to more streams. If you haven't already subscribed, if you haven't already dropped a like, it definitely helps the channel. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.